and Saskatchewan told Justin Trudeau, if you want the carbon tax, you have to come and take it from our cold dead hands, right? And Justin Trudeau said, okay, I'll just garnish the bank account, right? Just like he liked to do with the truckers. He was like, I'll go after the bank account. And interestingly enough, Saskatchewan said, there's actually a law about this that says you can't do that. And they requested an injunction. And do you know that injunction was granted? So I'll show you that. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we have the Rolling Stones name dropping Justin Trudeau, thinking the crowd's going to go wild. And Brian Lilly says, I don't think Mick Jagger expected fans at the Rolling Stone concert in Vancouver to boo when he mentioned Justin Trudeau. Watch to see how Mick gets them distracted. He talks about soccer. So we're doing well in the sports ball. Yay, sports ball. But it's interesting, the crowd's reaction to Mick Jagger when he says, oh, we love your Justin Trudeau. Here we go.
We love your Mr. Trudeau. I mean, his family's always been such big fans about that. By the way, congratulations on the Canadian soccer team getting to the semi-final.
Pivot. This is not going the way I expected it to go. So, right, when you're on stage, you can be really connected with your audience without having a chip in your head. You could just feel what they're feeling, right? Like when you say, hey, how about that Justin Trudeau? And the audience jeers and goes, ooh, you know they don't like him very much. And you know they want you to move on, right? So he did. So Saskatchewan, the federal government, carbon taxes, what happened there? Blacklock's reporter says court records show Canada Revenue Agency gave Saskatchewan 14 days to pay $42 million in carbon tax, or else. Attorney General Ear called it an obvious threat at political direction. Yeah. So pretty wild stuff. Or else what? So it looks like we're going to find out or else what, because Saskatchewan won their injunction. Global National is reporting Saskatchewan wins injunction to block CRA from collecting the carbon tax. And here it's a real news article, just in case you were wondering. And July 8th, it was published. Yeah, the Saskatchewan Party says its application for a court injunction to stop the Canada Revenue Agency from collecting the federal carbon tax from the province has succeeded. The court ruled in our favor, blocking the federal government from unconstitutionally garnishing money, pending the full hearing and determinations of the continuation of the injunction by the federal court. Bronwyn Ira, I'm getting that wrong probably, the provincial justice minister and attorney general said Monday. Ira said, garnishing provincial bank accounts violates Section 126 of Canada's Constitution. The issue will now go to a full hearing. So there you go. Very interesting stuff. Or else we'll go to a full hearing. Sounds good, says Saskatchewan. And everybody blinks at the same time. Wide Awake Media is showing Viktor Orban. This is interesting to me. I think that this whole series of tabs is looking at the ongoing invasion, the flooding of the West with migrants, refugees, and other people. The reason they're doing it, which is political, winning elections forever. Like never losing another election, because you can just you can just bust people in from anywhere that you can get them to vote for your candidate. So you can always win elections no matter what. So that's what's at stake. The Open Society's plan is in effect. Orban outlines it. I've got a woman here. James Lindsay talks a little bit about Soros specifically and reflexivity, which is problem, action, solution, using nudges to get society to move in the direction you want them to move in anyway, right? So that's what George Soros uses. And then this woman here is going to be telling us about what's going on in England and how this policy is impacting her. And then we're going to look at the United States and their policies, which are basically meant to import enough people to win elections forever for the Democrats. But this is all George Soros's plan. It's not happening by accident, is my point. People are saying, no, these are what's happening in France. That's just a coincidence. And, it's all a coincidence. Nothing here is connected. It's not a big grand plan. It's not a conspiracy. I'm saying that, yes, it is. I'm saying the people who are saying nothing to see here, they're either stupid or they're lying to you. Either one. But it's unmissable if you look at it. If you look around at what's happening, it's unmissable. You have to connect the dots. The dots connect themselves. They're connected for you. And so these people who are looking at this and saying, no, it's not that, it's something else, either aren't being honest with themselves or are directly lying to you. And I would say probably directly lying to you. Be discerning. Don't even listen to me. Go and connect the dots for yourself. But it looks to me like this is a long-standing plan with different operational situations, different operational goals at different times. Like in the early 2000s, it's undermining the courts and getting judges appointed and things like that. In 2008 to 2016, it was something else. 2016 was supposed to be Hillary Clinton, but it was Trump, and so he derailed their plan. Maybe, but each 10-year period, let's say 2008 to 2016 is 8, but you get my meaning, has like Kickstarter goals, right? And then stretch goals. So if you're in power and your mentor or whatever, puppet master, person in charge is George Soros. You're in charge, Hillary, you're the Secretary of State in 2009. We want you to kill Gaddafi, and we want you to do this, and we want you to do this, and we want you to do this. And she says, we came, we saw he died, and she got her Kickstarter goal, right? And she got a couple stretch goals. So she's like top notch. She's getting everything done. It doesn't matter that she was, ridiculed, tossed into a van like a side of beef, et cetera, et cetera. She was supposed to be rewarded for that good work by being crowned president in 2016. Trump scullied that, maybe, I guess. But it's one of those situations where all of those things are happening to a plan. So in 1995, the plan wasn't flood everybody with migrants, and it took them till 2015 to do it. The plan started, the flooding with migrants started in earnest in 2015. It was soft being done, and the foundational groundwork for preferential hiring, for the racism stuff, all of that groundwork was being laid in 95 and in 2005 and in 2015. All of that groundwork was done. But in 2015, it went hot with bringing lots of people in. Justin Trudeau did the migration pact for the United Nations. Canada signed on right away, and now we're hot. Now we're operational. And then 2030 to 2040 is going to have different stretch goals, different Kickstarter goals, but it's all part of the same plan. You see what I'm saying? Here's Viktor Orban, and he's saying the same thing. He's saying this is a plan. He's not going as far as I'm going. I'm saying it's more broad even than Orban's saying. This is a small part of a larger plan. But this part of the plan went operational in 2015, according to Orban. Here we go.
I do remember how Mr. George Soros published his plan in English in a Project Syndicate publication. It was done 2015, September 26. And he published a plan. He said that he is I'm quoting, here are the 6 components of my comprehensive plan. I just quote 2 or 3 points of that. First is, he said very clearly, 2015, that, quoting again, EU has to accept at least 1 million asylum seekers annually.
Asylum.
That was the first point. Second, he said, adequate financing is critical. And he proposed to issue long-term euro bonds for financing the migration crisis and the migrants' social and welfare taking care when they arrive to the European Union. And another point which is very important for Hungary, which is involving the territory of Hungary directly into this program, he said that, quoting them, safe channels must be established for asylum seekers, starting with getting them from Greece and Italy to their destination countries, which means to bring them to Greece, to Hungary, and then have them to go to OPSEU. So don't forget that what we are speaking about is not an accidental stories, not a bulk of 10 years of accidental stories. It's a plan which is going on. It was written. It was published. It's known. So we are fighting again an organized gang called Empire of George Soros and NGOs who are just supporting everybody who is transgressing our legal system and our regulation and financing illegal activity against our nation. So this is why the story is not just about migration, but it's about how this European Union is working and how George Soros was able to captive the main positions inside many institutions of European Union, buying out MPs and other leaders, and in order to execute the plan which is written, and it's against all the Christian and nation-based political forces. It's against us. It's about how to change Europe and how to eliminate and push aside all the Christian, conservative, national-based political leaders and voters from the European Union decision-making bodies. So this is the migration about, not just about migration.
Okay, so it's about invasion. It's about removing the people who currently make the decisions and replacing them and marginalizing them, not just replacing them physically, but taking them out of the participation of voting at all. And he's right. Look at Alberta, right? Like, and our political leaders, even if we vote, like, you going to vote for Danielle Smith? Yeah. What's your game, Danielle Smith? How come you didn't stand up for Artur Pawlowski? How come the Coots 4 is still in prison? How come, well, the Coots 2, how come, why didn't you follow through with your election promises? You're going to vote for Doug Ford? You're going to vote for Pierre Poilievre? Right? Like, so voting, it's just not going to get us out of this, unfortunately. Here's a little bit of James Lindsay, and this is 15 minutes. He's talking about George Soros. This is pared down from like a 2-hour and 45-minute one where he read through George Soros's, a couple of publications of Soros's, just like Orban did. So it's interesting to me. This is just, I mean, this is a little tiny sliver of an entire buffet meal, right? Like, go check this out. It's interesting. This is 19 minutes. It'll take you 11 in double time. Okay, here we go.
And you start to see kind of all of the things that corrupt politicians. You start to see all of the kind of things that are happening that are funded by the Open Society Foundation. You create tremendous amounts of division using identity politics. But of course, that's the vehicle also to really make people believe that their country sucks, young people in particular. And so what you can get is if you get a massive kind of divestment in belief in America or Canada or whatever country, Australia, whatever, then the country is in fact overvalued. And so now you've created the condition that you started with through a reflexive method by pushing narratives, by pushing lies mixed with truth. Go back to Boeing. Is it true that all these Boeing aircraft have, cracked windshield, a loose bolt or whatever it happens to be? And I'm not talking about the door flying off. That was a real problem, right? I'm talking about these little things. Is it true? Yeah, those are true things, but they're lies in that they're not relevant. There are minor mechanical and other issues, like maybe somebody acting up on a Boeing jet and they have to force a land. It doesn't have anything to do with the jet being Boeing, right? But there are minor mechanical issues on planes all the time. They have been all along. In fact, this has been a trend all along. And so you just start reporting on that all the time. Or maybe you start reporting on...
So this whole podcast is about the reflexivity, and reflexivity is being able to generate the outcome by implanting the idea that the outcome might be happening. And an example that Lindsay uses is, let's say you have a small isolated bank in a small community, and how banks work is fractional reserve banking, which is they have a small percentage of cash on hand and the rest of the cash is loaned out working in the market. That's how it's supposed to work. So it could be a situation where somebody, a bad actor in the community, starts spreading rumors that the bank doesn't have money to cover your money if you wanted to take it out. If you wanted to remove it from the bank, you wouldn't be able to because the bank can't cover that. And so the rumor starts to spread and picks up, and so then it causes a bank run, bringing about the very thing that the rumor was about. And it's not true, but the worry that was created by the rumor being started and propagated created that condition reflexively. You see what I'm saying? And that's what this is about. And he's saying that you get called racist and then all of a sudden you're racist, right? And it's not just that, but it's all sorts of, he used the example of you tell people enough that the country is immoral and terrible, and you convince the young people that the country's immoral and terrible, overvalued, right? Too rich to continue to function, so on and so forth. And then the kids believe it, the youth believe it, and then they bring that about. And it's the reflective kind of reflexivity making this happen. And it's one of the things that George Soros uses to bring about the change that he's trying to bring about with his bags of money, right? So it's pretty crazy. So how is all of these migrants impacting places where they go. This is 3 minutes. I think it's really worthwhile to listen to all of this because there's different parts of it where she goes through explaining why this is important to her personally. She's a pretty blonde woman with a British accent, okay? So she's talking about living in London as a pretty blonde woman. Here we go.
The root of a particularly taboo story that is close to my heart, shall we say. And I'll tell you why. It's all about crimes and migrants committing crimes. And I'll tell you why this is particularly close to my heart. Because to coin a favourite phrase of the left wing, it has been my lived experience over the past 3 years or so that a lot of crimes happening against women especially seem to be committed by people who aren't from this country. I've been followed home with a man in one of those Afghan kolpol hats chuntering away in some language. All the way to my front door, I had to hide in my neighbour's house and pretend I didn't live in my house because he was lurking around outside trying to do indecent things to himself. That's right. I've also had my phone robbed off me by a Roma woman with a scarf on. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Who are these people? Why are we importing all this stuff? I cannot walk down the streets where I live anymore without weird men leering at me, making comments. Look, I'm not one of these Me Too movement women. When it was builders wolf whistling from vans, I don't care. Sometimes it brightens up your day. Because what they don't do is they don't get into your personal space. They don't trail you. They don't physically approach you. They don't follow you to your front door. It's a very different sort of more harmless thing, a wolf whistle, than some of the stuff I'm being subjected to now. And some of the stuff my best mate who lives around the corner. Again, her lived experience. Also, guess what? A woman with long blonde hair. She has 4 teenage daughters. All of them now have at some point been sexually assaulted. They have been groped, they have been followed. They are scared living in London. What is going on? So I am going to keep talking about this. I don't care if people turn around and goes, you're a racist, because my safety and the safety of women in this country is paramount. That is way more important than offending certain communities who, quite frankly, have men with medieval values when it comes to women. And I ain't standing for it. So I'm going to keep on this subject. Now, one thing I think we need to do in this country is publish statistics on crime by nationality. We don't do it. Apparently we don't keep them. We're too lily-livered. Oh, we keep statistics on the victims of crime by nationality, so we can turn around and go, oh, look, it's all poor people who are not from here being targeted. What about the fact that actually, if you look on, there's this brilliant website about organised crime around the world. The contributors to that are people like the CIA, Interpol, Europol, and they've got all the stats of who's committing crime where in what countries. It's an amazing deep dive. You can sort of go onto this map and zoom in on a particular nation that explains all the sort of trends and patterns. About 90% of our organised crime was being committed by Albanians. I mean, for crying out loud, what are we importing? Now I'm going.
What are we importing? Indeed. I mean, all of her points are interesting. The one thing that made me laugh, actually, I think I laughed out loud the first time she said it, was that the wolf whistle brightens her day. I was like, my gosh, we've been told construction workers in communities might, hurt women, right? And now she's saying, when I get wolf whistled, it's just fine. In fact, it gives me a little smile, like I'm fine with it. And the construction workers are fine with it. Everybody's fine with it. But it's when you follow women home at night and, pleasure yourself in their yard, that's a big problem, right? And that one, not seen as a big problem. So the whole reason that people are being imported is to destabilize society, have access to organized crime in foreign countries, because the Albanians aren't working in Albania probably, right? Unless it's like a mafioso kind of thing where they're controlling the community and people come to them to help with problems and things like that. But I don't know much about Albania, so I have no idea. I think that that's interesting. And then the mass of people who are flooding in here are being used to turn elections. And here is Harrison Faulkner. He's talking about what's going on in Canada. Between 2018 and 2023 in Canada, the number of temporary foreigners hired as fast food workers increased by 4,802%. 4,802%. That's a lot. The number of temporary foreign hires as cooks increased by 279%. Truck drivers increased by 361%. Construction workers, 3,955%. This is a disgrace. Do you know how they're doing it? Oh, I'll show you right now. They're doing it through false Lima programs. Lima? Immigration consultant Global Gateway Visa is currently selling these pre-approved Lima jobs to foreigners: pastry chef, baker, pizza cook, butcher meat chef. That's my favorite college course. I want to be a butcher meat chef, please. Well, I mean, meat is not going to be allowed for much longer, right? If these globalists get their way. Gad Saad is talking about Canada kind of generally, and he's talking about how the West is killing itself. And I firmly believe we are not voting for our own demise. We are actually being attacked by communists all across the West. And this idea that we're doing it to ourselves shrouds the communists. It hides what they're doing, so we can't even really fight back. So I think it's kind of dangerous. I don't think this is happening, but I do think that the whole communist attack thing is happening. I don't think that we're killing ourselves. The West is killing itself through whatever kind of pathology Gad Saad is suggesting. But here's what Gad's saying. A fundamental question that I ask people when I'm gauging their intellectual honesty is to describe for me what evidence would need to look like in order for them to alter a given position that they hold. With that in mind, is there any reality that would cause the West to snap out of its parasitic ideological rapture and implement the necessary cataclysmic auto-corrective measures? If yes, we must still have some hope to hold on to. If not, this is going to be a painful death spiral. Well, I've been thinking about that too, right? Like when the Roman Empire collapsed, there was the Western Roman Empire that kind of just carried on. They were like, well, those Eastern guys aren't doing anything, but I guess I'm going to continue to do my job and, things like that. Now, I mean, supposedly we went into the Dark Ages after that and so on and so forth, before things got better. But that just really means hyper-local. You know what I mean? Like that just means there's no state of Rome to collect taxes and things like that. So it's interesting. I feel like there's a plan. Like the plan is to get us really close to a collapse situation and then rescue us with bugs, cricket powder or something like that. I'm not going to fall for it. And I'm not going to believe in government because it seems like they're setting the stage for all of this. But that's the plan, I think. Attorney General Ken Paxton says the White House has formally announced that Biden will veto the Republican bill that seeks to prevent non-citizens from voting. There's no hiding it now. Biden and the Democrats want illegal immigrants to vote in the election this November. Our elections are not safe from mass interference as long as states do not require proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections. Correct. And they're not. Speaker Mike Johnson says it should alarm every American citizen that sitting president of the United States, who has opened our border to over 9 million illegals, just announced that he would veto our bill to prevent non-citizens from voting. So, are you a non-citizen? Right this way, please. Wall Street Ape says the 2024 election in the United States is going to be so rigged. American business owner has a legal migrant come to him for a job. He says the illegal immigrant has social security card and driver's license with work ID in 4 months of entering America. So yesterday, this is a quote, I ran into somebody that I haven't seen in a while. I haven't seen this guy for months. He's been here for about 5 months in the United States, 6 months, something like that. And he says, hey, I'm looking for work. And I said, I can't hire you, man. I got to hire legitimate people or whatever. And he says, no, I'm legit now. And he's broken English kind of bits and pieces together as he pulls his ID and stuff out of his pocket. He says, I've got social security card now and I'm worker's ID and permit for working, everything all legit. Stamp, city stamping, specialized social security envelope. And I said, let's go inside real quick. I need a translator. I have a couple of my guys who speak Spanish and I'm talking to them and I say, so where are we at with time frame wise? How long did it take you to get your social security card and worker's permit? He said, maybe 3.5, 4 months, finished in hand. This dude got his work permit and social security card, came here illegally, got documented, got on the buses from Texas to Chicago, got in process here in Chicago, found an apartment building within the first week, an efficiency apartment, moved into the apartment building and has been working cash jobs under the table for the last 4 months until recently he got his worker's permit. Now he's working at a roofing company, but they're laid off right now. They're laid off and he's looking for work. And I said, I don't necessarily need anybody right now, buddy. I'm sorry. I'll have to pass. This shocks me. The fact that this guy can't even speak English, almost not a lick of English, very broken, can barely understand. Got to have a translator around. Luckily, I speak enough Spanish to know what he's saying. And I'm like, this is crazy. 4 months already, has a driver's license, insurance, and he bought a 2011 or 12 Ford Focus. Within 4 months, this guy's got a social security card, worker identification card for working, driver's license, everything. So this guy says that's crazy. So he's not happy about that. Right? Here's Reddit. And it says, I'm a non-citizen and the DMV automatically registered me to vote. The DMV told me green card holders could vote. What is going on at the DMV? So this guy's got a driver's license and he's being automatically funneled into a voting queue by the DMV. Wild and crazy stuff. Elon Musk says, when combined with mail-in ballots, the system is designed to make it impossible to prove fraud. Mail-in and drop-box ballots should not be allowed, as cameras on the in-person voting stations would at least prevent large-scale fraud by counting how many people showed up versus ballots cast. So, right, like you could have AI count the number of humans coming in to cast ballots. Holly Doan says, Canadians will live in townhouses and walk-up apartments under new housing design catalog for builders and buyers. It's an opportunity to find modern-day solutions to the housing challenges. So, welcome to your new apartment house. No, we don't do that in Canada anymore. Don't you know the United Nations 2030 agenda goals? And so these people are coming to change elections. These people are coming to steal our everything, our country. And part of that is being violent and destabilizing things through violent means. And here's an example of that in the States. Fake African asylum seeker, not in the States, excuse me, in Italy. In Italy, sets fire to a gas station shouting, I'll burn everything. This is not normal. No, it's not normal. It's really not normal. It's very abnormal. So this is an Italian gas station.
Non ci credo, pazzesco.
Like, that's not good.
Oh, tutta la benzina per terra. No, la pompa della benzina.
So crazy people will do crazy things. I've seen the gas station situation where like there was a fire and somebody hit the all stop and like big heavy foam comes down from the ceiling. Like lots and lots and lots of heavy foam comes down from the ceiling. So this is a planned situation that people are using financing from state actors and others, George Soros, etc. But George Soros is using his influence to push state actors to fund this, and they're funding it through NGOs, and it's bad, and we should stop it. We should not allow it anymore, because when do we stand up and say no? Like in 2025, because the next election is going to do it? I don't think so. I have my doubts. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful